Hi, my name is Amanda Panacea, and you're listening to the Healer Revolution podcast. This is a community for self-healers, biohackers, practitioners, and any other helping professionals. You're in the right place if you're seeking conversations about how pain becomes passion, the connection between physical, energetic, mental, and our spiritual self, finding your body's ancient wisdom, the latest biohacking technologies, clinical research, and if you just want to nerd out about complex biochemistry and quantum physics. But this is also for entrepreneurs who seek infinite abundance and a supportive community. So pour a cup of King coffee or Sisters tea and let's join the revolution. Welcome back to the Healer Revolution podcast. I'm Amanda Panacea, and today's guest is someone I deeply admire, Lydia Joy, founder of Rewilded Wellness. Not just for her knowledge, but there are days when her content is just on fire, and you can really tell that she fully embodies healing at a very deep emotional and physical and energetic level. She's also the co-creator of the Holistic Mineral Balancing Program. And honestly, she has a super gifted voice on the social media space as well as her podcast when it comes to truly understanding that mineral mind body connection. Her entire approach was born from her own experience of severe mineral burnout and the long road back to vitality, getting back into nature, and understanding the complexity between our mineral systems and our emotions. So now she runs a community where she sees clients through HTMA testing. She also mentors practitioners and has developed a way of reading the HTMA that goes far beyond what you're going to find online. She sees that emotional interject and even cosmic patterns that shape how we adapt and evolve. So, in this conversation, we explore what it truly means to rewild your health, to stop fighting your biology and to start listening to it, and also how minerals are not just nutrients, but messengers of memory, of emotion, and resilience. So I really hope you enjoy this podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Healer Revolution podcast. I am your host, Amanda Panacea, and today I'm really excited to get to have an awesome conversation with Lydia Joy. Hello, Lydia. How are you?
Hey, Amanda, how are you?
I'm great. So I wanted to have you on for a while because you just started coming out with so many incredible posts about mineral balancing, and they were really encompassing so many different aspects of the self that I could tell you were not just some cookie cutter 3-week HTMA course type person. And I could tell you've been doing this a really long time and really understood like what it takes to heal from a lot of different angles. So I'm really excited to hear your story and get to know a little bit about how you practice today.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. And I hate cookie cutters. So,
Yeah.
um, the world needs more of us to be in our full selves. And I think personalization is the way to go.
Hmm.
So we don't all get a little more insane than we already are.
Yeah.
Oh,
And obviously, when you first start out, you kind of have to be a little cookie cutter at first because you haven't really found your voice yet. But again, it really goes to show like how long you've been doing this. So tell us a little bit about how you got into using an HTMA and your story and why you gravitated towards that type of test.
okay. Well, um, So, gosh, well, back when I did my functional training through Nutritional Therapy Association, my favorite module was the mineral one.
Hmm.
And I was like, wait, this is all that we get? Like, isn't there more? There has to be more. Like, wait, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah, I
um,
felt the same way. Minerals are the best.
yeah, and so I was like, okay, minerals, let me keep learning about this. And it just felt so almost like elusive or something. Like, I don't know. Um, and so for me, it was kind of like, I don't know, it hit. It was like, this is going to be something I'm into. Um, so fast forward to 2014, I had been 2 years in practice and I was like, I have got to understand this. Something is missing. I keep crashing and burning. For most people probably don't know me. I'm a single mom. I have 4 sons. They're 26, 22, 20, and 18 now, but back then they were little. And I was raising them by myself and trying to get a business off the ground and, thinking I'm superwoman or whatever. And I'm crashing and burning, right? Like it's that whole story everyone's telling right now of like, I make a little progress and then something stressful happens and then I crash and then it takes me forever to recover, right? That was me back then.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, I got to do something different. And that's when I went to the hair test finally. Like it had been kind of teasing me, like from somewhere else, like, you need to come over here and do this. But, the people that were doing it were like, I don't know. There was something about that model that I just was like, I'm not into some of this, right?
When you
So
say
anyway,
that model, what do you mean by that model?
oh, I don't want to call anyone out, but like the majority of people who were practicing, it was very dogmatic. It was very
Yeah.
like old, I'm gonna say old school, like,
Hmm.
right? Because like to me, I was like, there's a lot here that is good, and there's a lot here that I'm like, I came from a really strict religious background that just, was
Yeah.
very suppressive, right? And so I picked
Right.
up on that and some of the ways it was being practiced, and I was like, I really love this. If there's a way to get rid of that,
Yeah.
I'm down. But the minerals just kept calling me. So I jumped in and it was 2014. It was like September, my birthday month, your birthday month.
Hmm.
And I just was like, I need to know more. Like I need a bigger picture view instead of all these like pieces that are just like not connected cohesively enough. And my youngest son was struggling massively at the time. That's a whole nother story for another time, but he was like one of my biggest fires, if you will, in my life at that
Hmm.
time. Very emotionally volatile, really struggling. And I was also struggling. And I was like, all right, let me do his, let me do mine. And I had a colleague who we had been collaborating back and forth, and she's like, she ran it for me. And then I, jumped on ship right quick, as soon as I got my test back. And I was just like, oh my word. Like, finally, something to explain all of these things that I've been dealing with, right? So you have this first moment of like relief and
Yeah.
hope and clarity, and then it's quickly followed by grief and
Yeah.
the realization of like, well, shit.
Yeah. What was your
uh,
pattern?
well, I think I was a like a borderline slow one, like, and then I dipped down into fast four, which
Hmm.
I joke about it because I'm a single mom with 4 sons, and I'm like, it makes sense that I would be in a fast
Hmm.
forward
Yeah. And what does that mean for people who might not know what the slow and fast?
I mean, geez Louise. Well, so with the HTMA, right, it's a pattern of adaptation, right? So the calcium starts out uh coming down. It's low. And then your magnesium, sodium, potassium. So all four of those macro minerals, which represent a lot more than just the mineral itself,
Yeah.
are low, which means, the body could be just kind of like burning out.
Yeah.
um, it depends on when you catch it, right? Like I don't feel like, well, anyways, that's tricky to know, like, where are you at in this pattern? How
Right.
long have you been in this pattern? But I slipped from slow to fast forward, and then I hung out in that like high
Hmm.
fast forward, close to slow one situation for a while.
Hmm.
So that's kind of like, gosh, that's like the most simple way to tell you how I got started. But it was really profound, in the first 3 to 6 months, I was at that time I was in like what I call scramble mode, like throwing every frantic bit of energy I had into my health, right? Like, and by 6 months in, I had calmed way down and I was like chilling, and I was like, huh, all right, this is good. My son had calmed way down. He was doing way better. His emotional volatility was like night and day, and I couldn't shut up about it. Back in the day, I was on Facebook and I just couldn't shut up about it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, you're right. You're right. In the beginning, it's like, well, what on earth is this? Like, let
Right.
me take from those who have gone before me and try to, make sense of this and speak about it, right? Like it's quite a feat to really embrace this modality,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. That first test always says so much about people. That's why I love to ask them. Mine was like a horrific calcium shell. It was, I think my potassium was like a 2 and my calcium was almost 600. So my thyroid was basically like my cells were starving for thyroid hormone. And one other really bizarre thing, I had super high selenium. I still to this day can't figure out why back I had that. And at the time I felt very numb. Like I was like, this is the first thing that's explained what's going on in my body. Because at the time, you do the functional test, you get the blood work, and people give you all their opinions, but you're just like, no, there's something like this isn't it. And when you find the HTMA, those psychological patterns, you're like, this finally makes sense. Like this is how I'm
Yeah.
feeling, and this is how it's showing up, and this is what's changing my body and causing the symptoms. So yeah, so tell us a little bit about um as you started to use it, you kind of have to study and take what other people have done. It's a super old test. So there's all that like gathering information. And then what were some of the conclusions you came to that helped you to kind of make it your own? Like, I guess if you could say, like, I started to notice that this was working, or I started to use this other test on top of it, and just things that aren't so part of that old story of you have to do it this way or it's not going to work.
Oh man, that's such a great. That's so good. Um, well, I'm a rebel by nature, so
Uh,
I don't want to do anything anybody else's way anyways. And I think I'm here for that. Like I think that's part of my purpose is
uh,
to aim towards a whole different way. Um and so I what I loved was the principles of the modality, right? Like understanding the principles, like what is this founded on? Why does it make sense? Like, and then all that other stuff, holy moly, right? Like, it could take you down rabbit holes you don't even need to go. And then you get lost in them. And then you're missing like this foundational awesomeness that everyone's missing today.
mm,
So, because I was so burned out and so sensitive, and had gone through a lot of emotional, like I had some major life stuff, right? We all could say that, right? I'm sure. Sure you can say that because your calcium was telling us that,
yeah,
right? Like,
exactly.
I'm like, oh, she has some kind of lack of structure in her life that her body is like, hold up, right?
Yeah,
Um,
lots of relationship trauma, drugs, alcohol, all the stuff coming out of my late 20s, super burned out.
yeah, your body was like, let's protect you.
Yes. Oh
Let's
yeah.
stop this. Um,
Absolutely.
I had too much structure. I was coming from way too much rigidity. So it was like the opposite for me. So I guess, because I was so sensitive and because I couldn't do the lab generated protocols and I didn't understand like why we couldn't use our own supplement line. And I was like, I'm not doing this. Like I started with each supplement line from the two labs, like ARL and TEI. And I was like, these just don't feel good in me. Like I just can't. So, yeah, so that was like, I'm like, all right, well, let me take the principles, let me take the mineral wheel, let me take all of this and understand like why does this move this and that move that, and but like what else? Like what else correlates with these ratios and these patterns and these markers that like we can also work with? Because if everything affects everything, if every mineral is affected to every emotion, adaptation, mineral hormone gland, you name it, why does it have to be this limited range of things that we do? Like, really, we could. I mean, I've had people come to me with hair tests. They didn't do anything protocol wise from the lab. They did whatever else, and their pattern changed. And I'm
Oh yeah.
like, okay, so hold up, right? Like, hold the
Yeah.
press here. What are we doing with this, like, lab generated thing? On the one hand, it's a framework, right? Which provides some structure, right? But as we know, if we get into too much rigidity, there's problems. But if we get
Hmm.
into too much permissiveness without the structure, there's too many problems, right? So I just kind of found my way towards um, what worked for me. What I was hearing from people, like the overwhelm of like intensive protocols, and like when they couldn't even like manage basic stress in their life, or relational communications, or they didn't even know how to cook, like, or they had a job that was just terrible, or they worked the night shift and didn't sleep at all. Like, I just was like, this protocol isn't going to fix any of those things.
Right.
Sure, it might give you some support. Sure, it might be helpful, but like we just really had to look at the whole of a person's life and kind of make it work for them where they were at, versus like, here, this is the protocol, right? Like, this is what all the experts before me say you're supposed to do. I'm like, they're not sitting in front of this human.
Right.
Like, right? And this human is like overwhelmed already. So, how do I bring down the overwhelm in their life? It doesn't have to be 15 supplements. It doesn't have to be, well, we have to get the heavy metals out or else your minerals won't work right. It's like,
Right.
you might not be ready for that, right? So, I don't know. It's just kind of like teasing all that out, experiencing it for myself. I did hair tests on myself every quarter for the last almost 11 years. And I'm really good at pattern recognition. And I don't know. So just all of that just kind of like informed how I sit with people and work with this. Somewhere in between that that
Yeah.
structure and freedom is a nice like balance in how we can use this, I find.
Right. Yeah, when I first started, I was actually really doing the protocols. I was making them myself and I was doing them wrong, super wrong, quote unquote. And then when I learned deeper of how like these gurus that come before us say you have to do it this way, I was confused because I was like, well, I'm getting results with this other way of doing it. And I was like, well, let me see if I can get better results following the way that you're supposed to do it, quote unquote. And yeah, things were definitely moving, but again, I started to just like you come into that conclusion that like I don't like these supplements and they smell bad. Like I most of my clients can't take them either. Like they're just so highly sensitive that we can't even start with like the foundational one, or we
Right.
have to start with like homeopathy. We can't even get into taking a nutrient yet because people are so sensitive these days. So I just really moved away from that as well. And then plus there's that nervous system component. And like you mentioned, the lifestyle factors. You wouldn't believe how many people, well, you might actually are in those lifestyle stress patterns. And they're like, yeah, it's pretty pointless for me to take these supplements, right? Because I know I've got this big thing that I have to change or I have to do this. And I'm like, it'll probably help to make that big change. Yes, absolutely. And it's wild
Yeah.
when you do them for so long, you start to notice in yourself, like, I'm kind of feeling like this, so I bet I'm in this pattern. And then you get the results and you're like, insane.
Yeah. You know when you need to test because you feel the
Hmm.
shift in your body and you're like, huh, I've been testing sooner lately, actually,
Hmm.
because I feel like I'm, even if it's micro shifts on the paper, right?
Yeah.
Like, it can feel so different in the body. And so it's fascinating too, like when people are new to this, they look at the test and like, it doesn't look any different.
Yeah.
And they get so upset and you're just like, dude, let's get into math here and look at the percentage of difference if you want to like be convinced. But really, I find, we don't understand adaptation at all. Like we don't get it. Especially even in the holistic health space. The holistic health space is almost equally as bad as the allopathic these days because everyone's trying to fix themselves, fix their
Yeah.
labs. Right. So I love hearing that. Your story too is like you really have to kind of have some intuition about this, which, those who have gone before us, like their ceiling is our floor, right? Like we
Hmm.
shouldn't stay static and stagnant, and we should learn from them and we should take what like they went before us, thank goodness, right? Like they brought this body of work to us, but like, I mean, come on, we got to keep evolving. The
Right.
times are changing. So you got to get with the times. I mean, you just do.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah. So if you were really sensitive in the beginning and in that just super depleted state, how did you start to make progress? Was it with supplements or was it more of like, I'm going to really focus on this lifestyle, the nature, circadian piece, or did you do therapy, nervous system work? How did you start to move the needle if you had such a low tolerance to taking things?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, I was so sensitive. I want to just say really quick, I drank dandelion tea like from a freaking tea bag and I was reactive. And I know it wasn't the plant. It
Hmm.
was my system. Like anything you put in to try to shift it, it just was like, what? What? Um, because there was just a lot of chaos and stress in my life at the time, and I was in overwhelm. So for me, I was also broke.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't spend any money on this. I have to be creative. So the thing that did the most for me is the most basic, and it was going outside.
Yeah.
Okay. And
I knew you were
it
going to
wasn't
say that.
it wasn't just like, okay, I'm gonna go outside, la di da. It was like I need to get out of the environment that I'm in and shift. Like, so I would go across. Fortunately, I lived across the street from a woods and a trail and a creek. So it was my saving grace. And I would put the kids on the yellow bus and I would be like, my whole body would just be like, oh my gosh, and I would go across the street before I did anything else, even though I was like, I have so much work to do. And I would be like this. I was like, oh my gosh. My fingers were twitching. I'm like, geez Louise, am I like, what is
Yeah.
going on? But it was like my nervous system was that on the fritz. And I said to myself one day, I was like, you know what? I probably should just stay out here until I stop doing this.
Yeah.
Like until I just chill and I relax. Like my body is just like, ugh.
Yeah. For those
And so
listening, she's making like a vibration feeling, which I think a lot of people can relate to that, like that buzzing.
yeah, my fingers were just twitching. I was like tweaking out. And so it's funny because like that whole like modern ideology of like performance and drive and you got to do and blah blah bloop. And here I am, this new entrepreneur, single mom. I'm like putting so much pressure on myself. And I was like, you know what? That all can wait. If I am not well, this is not going to work. So I gave myself permission to go into the woods and just do like have zero agenda other than calming myself. And I remember one of the first times I just wandered around exploring and it was so magical because I just played like a child in the woods.
Yeah.
And I sat up against a tree, I like cuddled up to it and I was like I feel like I tapped back into like a serenity I had when I was a kid that was totally lost. And I was like, this feels really good. And that was
Right.
it. Like that was the beginning of the turnaround for me.
Hmm.
And then, if I hadn't been working with the minerals, I'm sure I wouldn't have I don't know what would have happened to me. I mean, seriously, like if I didn't have my minerals, I don't know. I don't know how I would have gotten through that era of my life. So it was really basic, really, really basic that like opened the door into like this huge portal of like massive transition in my life. Um, and so, if you think about it, we've been totally divorced from nature for a long
Mhm.
time, which provides the basic elements for our health, our human biology to properly function. So, I was really grateful to kind of like, I was kind of put in that position.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't an
That's that,
accident.
that's what I like to tell people because I predominantly work with people who are struggling with this really heightened sensitivity levels. And uh, like sometimes I explain to them, if you can't do anything else but nervous system regulation, be in nature, lay on the grass, be in the sun, be in the shade outside. If that's the only thing that you can do, don't you think that's like a sign from like God, the universe, whatever you believe in, that that's what you should be doing? Like, if that's all that there is left, like embrace that, do that as much as you can. Don't try to find another doctor that hopefully is going to tell you something different because you're just spinning your wheels without that connection to our biology, what we need.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not a to do.
Right.
It's something to go and explore to become.
Yeah, I love
Right,
that.
because so many people have said to me, like, "I'm doing that," or I
Yeah.
mean, I'm emphasizing it because we're all stubborn in our little
Yeah.
child, in our wounded child, like, right? I want the result, right? I mean, I've done this 1,000 ways.
Oh yeah, of course, same.
Right, but it's like, check, I checked that off the list, right? Like, I've gone outside. It's like, no, you haven't. You need to get deeper.
Yeah.
And just like stop with it being a fixing agenda.
Hmm.
It's really a becoming.
Yeah.
It's really a relationship. It's really is a relationship. Um, and so yeah, it's really huge. It's really powerful.
I like to tell people find something that you can do just because you like doing it, like for the sake of doing it, like not to
Yeah.
get an outcome, just
Right.
because I've been going for a walk on the beach here, which is part of my like life goal is to have a lifestyle where I can go walk on the beach and there's like little fish and little crabs and like kids everywhere playing stuff. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I stopped to find this cool shell, or look how crazy this fish looks, or I just saw a little thing digging in the sand. Let me go see if I can dig it up, with like out thinking about how long I've been walking, the time, like how
Right.
fast my aura ring, you know what I mean? Like just taking
Oh
those
my goodness.
moments to just have
I
some
or
small amounts of pleasure. Yeah.
yeah. I love that. And I think that's really key. Like, what brings you joy, and where are you at in your life right now around your relationship to joy? Like,
Yeah.
you know, and a
Hmm.
lot of people are just like, "Oh, I used to do things that I like to do. I
Yeah.
kind of forgot about it." And you're just like, "Oh, well, what are they?" Like, see if you
Yeah.
can get that little spark back and a
Yeah.
reminder. And, like, that's one of my favorite things is when people tell me they're doing something they set aside and it was like collecting dust and they
Yeah.
started doing it again. I'm like, "Ooh, that's great. This is like
Yeah.
your fuel, right? Like it's like a source of fuel."
Yeah. Hmm. Absolutely. And you mentioned spark, which is funny because we're talking about minerals, and I was talking about calcium being so like numbing and blunting for me, and just dampening that spark and just feeling so disconnected and numb. Let's get back to the minerals actually. So with, let's see, with some of these patterns, um, when somebody is really feeling like super hypersensitive, like the mast cell activation. They're doing all the things. They may be in that like super deep burnout patterns, or maybe have that active calcification. What are some are like your I don't want you to give all your secrets, but what are some of your like go-tos that help to start to open them up to be able to start to move the needle, I guess, to maybe calm down like the hyperreactivity besides the things we've already mentioned?
Gosh, well, it really depends on the person,
Hmm.
and what they're saying. Like, right? Like one person could be coming in and being like massive hyper vigilant, like I'm doing this and this and this and this and this and this, and they have like a
Hmm.
spreadsheet of like 50 supplements, and like they've done every test under the sun, and they're like trying so hard. It's like I'm like, ooh, okay, I'm not actually going to give you more supplements right now. We're gonna we're gonna have a little moment of like, I don't know. It's tricky. It's like everyone's so different, but like, how can we declutter some stuff? Like, why is there so much excess? Why is there need for all of it? Is it working? Like, if you're not moving the needle in the pattern, like, why? Like, what are you not addressing? What are you not willing to face by overdoing all of this stuff? Like, it's like I can be a good little girl and do all my like dutiful health stuff, but like totally be like blocking the fact that you've got relational issues and you're overextending yourself and whatever, right? Like there could be so many things. And that pattern could have set in from childhood for some reason. Like you became that good little girl that's hyper vigilant for some reason, and you don't really recognize that yet, right? And so I always just talk and ask a lot of questions. I like want to go back to birth. I want to know
Hmm.
like, well, how were you born? Like, and then people just start to like remember things and share things. And then as they spend time on their program, that stuff's percolating. So
Hmm.
I guess for me, I like to simplify things. I've even I've gone so extreme as to like not give them hardly anything at first,
Yeah.
which is very frustrating for a person who wants to do a lot of stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
but I would rather bring in gentleness, right? Like gentleness, like allow, especially if it's a woman, right? Like they need to soften. They need to soften. So I like herbs. I like plants. I like nature-based things. So I might suggest an herb or something like that that I feel could really support their nervous system where they're at and impact their mineral pattern. Um, I mean, two that I start out with that are just well known and well studied can be either nettles or oat
Hmm.
straw. That's
Yeah.
just a baby step in the door, right? Like that's not necessarily the thing people are going to do forever, and they can blend and there's so much, but
Right.
I really find they can be just very gentle. But it's not necessarily going to be a nutritionally based thing that I might recommend, quite
Hmm.
frankly.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And what about the opposite? The person who's maybe like super burned out and unmotivated, a lot of resistance to any interventions. Like you can give them something, but they're like, it just sits on my counter. I don't take it. Um,
Yeah.
any like secret weapons there?
Um, yeah, okay, so unmotivated. I mean, it depends on the pattern too. Like,
Yeah.
do they have no sodium and potassium? Are they total apathy, right? Like, why?
Yeah.
Why are they feeling that apathy? Like, um, I feel like if I can explain to them, you know, why they're feeling the way they're feeling, especially if I'm using their words, like what they're saying, like they're feeling, and I can show it to them, something pops off, right?
Hmm.
Um, And I feel like a lot of people aren't getting the picture of that. Like maybe they've done a hair test through like a online thing and they just get some printed out,
Yeah.
generated thing, or maybe they found a new practitioner who doesn't really know how to explain all this, right? Like so they don't feel moved by what they need to do because it doesn't land in their body, in their emotions, in whatever way they need to hear it, right? So I'm always listening to what words people are using and what's landing for them so that I can take what I see in the test and speak their language, but also explain like this is why you're saying this. Like it's right here. And if you want to shift that, like there's, this is what we can do. So the lack of motivation is tricky. I mean, I'm not going to lie because you and I both know there could be serious like poor detox, gut dysbiosis, like there could just be a lot of body burden. But it could also be they just don't love their life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like maybe they hate their job. Maybe they're lonely. Maybe, it could be so many things. So it's like you kind of have to be able to explain it and then find that one little thing, right? That
Mm.
like we just talked about joy.
Yeah.
Um, where do you see them light up in the conversation at all? And go into that, you know? Like that's where we're gonna go. All right, that lit you up. That got you excited. Okay, we're doing that. um, I mean, there's so much intuition that can be utilized when we sit with people. If you want more specifics, I mean, I feel like we have to bring in minerals to some degree to spark them back up, right? Like
Right.
most people are not getting enough salt. Most people are not getting anywhere near enough potassium. Most people are not even absorbing what minerals they are getting. And they're just burning them right back up, burning them right back up. So you have to give that baseline of nutrient support, which none of us got.
Right.
And you also have to find a way to stop burning it all back up. So that's why the joy has to come in. That's why something has to, like something, doesn't matter what it is. Um, if you stop like leaking out all your minerals, um, even a little, it's going to make the reserve, like I always say, it's about your gains and your drains, right? How can we decrease your drains? How can we increase your gains? Even if it's minuscule in the right direction, you're going to make
Mm-hmm.
progress, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people use that bucket analogy. Like, how much are you losing out of the bucket versus how much are you putting in the bucket? Kind of like that.
Yeah.
Or redox before detox. Like, you've got to gather the electrons from the earth, from your food. You have to get the light and everything. The minerals are in that. Like, we have to get what we need to actually make the energy, to actually have the motivation to change, to actually feel the emotions when we're in the presence of something beautiful, or, you know,
Mm.
to have the
Hmm.
motivation to change your life too. Because I mean, I'm sure you felt like that for a moment of just like, I literally cannot make a decision. Like, I don't have the energy to decide what to do next.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes, totally. Yes.
Yeah.
Indecision. That's
Hmm.
like,
Yeah. Or to
that's a,
get out of the bad situation. You're so depleted, you're so stuck. And one of the things I love that you've been posting about is about the fascia. So that kind of leads into there, that stuckness and how mineral patterns affect our fascia. So this is a really new area of study. Like when I was talking to my sister, I was like, she was like, I've never heard that word. And I was like, don't worry, it's pretty new. It's not your fault. I didn't hear about it until recently either. And there's such a rise in the like connective tissue disorders, or maybe even just symptoms of the connective tissue being really stressed. Can you explain kind of how the minerals play into how our fascia works, or how our connective tissue can become stiff or rigid, or we can become hypermobile if that's even possible?
oh wow, this is such a vast, like, how do I even begin? Well, I
Let's
mean,
start
I
with
guess if you,
what is fascia or connective tissue?
I don't know. Fascia. I mean, it's like this, it's just this beautiful, like, I wish we had a visual right now, like a
Mhm.
beautiful web of all this interconnectedness within us. I don't know how to explain it scientifically. I
That's
mean,
good enough.
that's,
Yeah.
I mean, it connects everything to everything in our bodies, right? Like if you think about like when you cut a piece of meat, right? Like I hope you
Mhm.
guys have like, at least chopped up a chicken or something and like cut your own meat I mean, most people haven't. And you see those like divisions of like the muscle and that like white connective tissue that's holding the two muscles together, right? Like we have that throughout our body, like in between all of our muscles, in between all of these parts of us. It's really like our scaffolding. We think
Hmm.
about this, we think about the skeleton as our scaffolding, and it is, but the fascia is even more so because without it, like we wouldn't be able to flow with that skeleton. We wouldn't be able to move and glide and all of these things. And so I don't know how to explain it really well at this point because it's just to me, I can visualize it and understand it. And I think it is great that we're talking about it, and it's great that more people are bringing it up because it is definitely a missing piece of the puzzle. So minerals, gosh, how do they, I mean, minerals really run the show. If you think about electricity and you think about the flow of voltage through our system and how it travels through our body, it's not just, through our bloodstream, right? Like, I mean, it's through everything. Um, and the fascia is just this network that is like helping us communicate throughout our whole system. So you think about like the analogy of the stockings, like remember pantyhose? I grew up wearing
Hmm.
pantyhose, right? And
Yeah.
you take the pantyhose, right? Like, and I had to wear them to chapel every Friday because I grew up going to Christian school. We like had to wear pantyhose. It was like a rule. But
Yeah.
you get the snag in the pantyhose, or like you pull them on and like they get stuck, or like they have that stupid seam in the toe that's so annoying. Like, and you feel it. It's like pulling, and it's like, ew, this feels gross. Anytime our fascia gets disrupted, like say for example from a scar, I think everyone can kind of understand. Like, I had a
Hmm.
C-section with my first son. So my fascia was totally disrupted by being cut open through all the way through. Right. So when you cinch that back up, the fascia is now changed. It's not flowing smoothly. It's not flowing freely. It's being tugged in different directions. Right. And if the scar doesn't heal properly, and I'll be honest, I don't think I think all scars like that will create those adhesions and
Oh, yeah.
deviate your fascia, right? Like the bigger the
Hmm.
scar, the more traumatic the scar, it's just gonna change things.
Right.
Uh, so you disrupt that flow within your system, right? And it can just kind of show up all over the place. So where do minerals come in? I mean, if we're running low in minerals or imbalanced in minerals and our fascia isn't able to receive the appropriate flow, and we have to talk about water. I mean,
Yeah.
shoot. Uh when you think
Like the
about water,
easy water.
coherent water with
Hmm.
minerals, right? Like I go to a spring and collect my spring water, and I tell you what, it is different than the tap water by far.
Yeah.
I mean, it's alive, right? So all of us have been alive on the planet without this coherent, beautiful living water flowing through us 24/7. And, we have all these things that have disrupted our fascial system, right? Like I just explained the one with the C-section. So, here we are. You said everyone's talking about fascia. It's for a reason. And everyone's talking about connective tissue disorders. It's for a reason. Like we've been alive on the planet long enough, far removed from the natural source of water that would have flowed through us, the natural way we would have been moving in the world, the light hitting our bodies to even do its part in building that like coherence within us, right? Like you don't have to always drink easy water. Your body can make it, but it can only make it if it gets what it needs, via sunlight and other things. So
Right.
so the minerals are conducting all of this, right? If we have them, which many people don't. And
Right.
if you study each mineral separately, you can see its electrical potential within the body, and then you have to have the symphony working, playing like in concert. So that's my like big picture view explanation. I hope that was helpful.
Right. Yeah, it makes total sense because they'll say like when you become stiff and rigid, your fascia is dehydrated, meaning you're not making that intracellular easy water. You don't have the minerals to make that charge. And so each cell is not hydrated. And then that communication between the cells is going to be impacted because you need that easy water even on the receptor sites to respond to hormones, to respond to neurotransmitters. And the more dehydrated you become, the more stiff, the more uncomfortable, the more pain, the more crunchy is a term used a lot. And then I also think about like the depletion of the electrolytes and their effect on copper and how important that is for our connective tissue, and the rampant amount of women on birth control that's affecting their copper, and just so
Mhm.
much going into why all of a sudden, oh my gosh, now everyone's hypermobile. Not everyone has mast cell and EDS. It's like, it's not a coincidence. We're not getting better at diagnosing these things. Like it is more prevalent because of, well, part of what you just mentioned, like the disconnection from Earth and the signals we need to actually just have our body do the basic things. So it sounds so simple, but
I mean, it is in theory simple, but it's so convoluted because we've lost all that was necessary
Mhm.
to allow for what you know. So you
Right.
think about when I said nature divorcement, that's a term I got from Arthur Haynes, who wrote a book called The New Path.
Hmm.
Excellent book, deep, meaty, super good. Um, so when you think about nature divorcement, like I don't think many people do, and many people even can conceptualize how
Yeah.
we just can't because we live in a built environment, right? So our bodies have had to adapt to this built environment versus adapting in the natural one. So all these disorders that are popping up really, I mean, we can call them whatever we want to call them, but really it's this deviation from source,
Yeah.
right? It's the terrain, it's the ecosystem. It's like we've had to adapt to this ecosystem, the built one. So of course that like the body's smart. The body's going to adapt how it needs to adapt. So here we are, right? We have all these things disrupting the appropriate expression of a healthy ecosystem, the healthy inner terrain. And now it's
Hmm.
just like a dysfunctional seemingly because it's trying to fit into a built environment versus the natural one, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, there's so much to talk about. And I mean, copper is a big deal. You know, I hate to pick off any one mineral ever and just talk about it like it's a god unto itself, but like copper is a huge connector, right? Like,
Mm.
and how it plays in energy production in our bodies. And you're right, like women on birth control, like that's a disruption to true connection within ourselves
Hmm.
and how it plays into the copper piece, if you will, which really is it's really the whole orchestra. But yeah, I love that you brought that up. So yesterday I got a massage and
Yeah.
I hadn't had a chance to drink a whole lot that morning, which whatever, it's fine.
Hmm.
Um, but I was like, oh, well, wait, now I don't want to go guzzle because I don't want to have to pee during my massage. Right. So, but I want to be pliable and I want to be hydrated to some degree and I want like my connective tissue to move. Um, so I just took some cuprum metallicum, which is the homeopathic copper before my session, and then I took some more after. I just did that. I didn't this is just what I do. Like, and I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense, right? Because the copper
Yeah.
helps with the connective tissue, collagen cross-linking, and I was like, oh shoot, I don't want to go into a massage. I don't know if I'm dehydrated. I just know I haven't drank much yet today.
Hmm.
Right. So that was
Yeah.
just like one of the little things that I did, um, in light of, trying to make sense of something in the
Hmm.
moment.
Yeah, I like that one a lot for the really sensitive people who have like a really low sodium to potassium ratio and they have a hard time with taking a supplement per se, but we'll do like the homeopathy or the cell salts to just get in like some information about what might the body need to do with this information.
Right, right,
And
right.
that seems to be pretty helpful. But I wanted to talk about one more thing before we get too off track, and that is one of your topics that you do a really great job with is sulfur metabolism, and like SIBO. And I know you use a different test to kind of layer on the gut piece because HTMA is amazing, but it still leaves a lot out of the picture, you know, like there's still some guesswork sometimes. So what is this other gut test that you run, and how does that kind of help infer what type of like recommendations you make?
Okay. So I do the Biome FX test, which is through Microbiome Labs. It's basically like genetic sequencing in the microbiome. So that's what they're testing when they look at the sample.
Hmm.
Um, and so it's more like what's that ecosystem, right? Like
Hmm.
um and so it shows you who's in there, what they're doing, um, right? And how the either lack of something that's not there or too much of something that's there, what function it's supposed to be playing. And if you're missing it, like everyone's missing the bacteria that produce K2, for example. Like
Mm, interesting.
I I've seen like a couple people that had a little bit and some K2, right? Like we're supposed to make a significant portion in our gut,
Uh-huh.
right? But because of that built environment situation, we don't do it right anymore. So I love it because like you said, it actually takes the work we do with HTMA and takes it to the next level so we can kind of partner up the mineral system and the microbiome, right?
Hmm.
As far as sulfur, I learned for me years ago when I ran my genetic data that I had, SNPs that were hitting up my ability to deal with sulfur properly.
Hmm.
And so I found out like 10 years ago, like I can't do all these high sulfur things that all these people say you're supposed to do, right? And I was like, meh,
Yeah.
I don't
Like
know.
NAC,
Yeah,
glutathione, MSM, all
yeah,
that stuff. Yeah.
all that, but even it goes even further, right? And then of course, like some protocols are like high cruciferous, like vegetables. I think a lot of people just eat onions every day. They just do. Like they don't know what else to cook with. It's just a habit. They eat tons of garlic and onions, which isn't really how we seasonally would have done it. Right.
Hmm.
So anyways, so in the HTMA, you can kind of see this. Like you can kind of see like the different phases of detox and like where someone's at. And you can look at the sulfur and the molybdenum and the ratio and kind of realize, ooh, they might need to be a little more attentive to this right now because if their detox pathways are struggling, all that sulfur isn't getting converted properly. And it can create like bottlenecks, right? Like, if you, especially if you don't have molybdenum on board, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then in the gut, there's so much to this, but like all that sulfur feeds the sulfur loving bacteria, which, hydrogen sulfide is one um, thing that can show up, and that's not comfortable. Like that does not
Right.
feel good. And that's high, right? Like that's pressure. That's
Yeah.
just like building pressure, right? So if you cannot convert the sulfur from sulfite to sulfate, phase one to phase two, because you have detox pathway bottlenecks, issues, not supported properly, efficiently, all your genetic stuff could be playing a role, right? Like everyone's could be totally different.
Hmm.
Um, eating a high sulfur diet and taking all those supplements, even too much bile support, quite frankly, without adequate fiber is a big problem. And
Mm,
everyone's tons of bile support, right? Like, which isn't necessarily wrong per se, but it's slightly misguided when you don't cohese it all together, right? Like, especially if someone has this overgrowth going on in their gut. So, so yeah, sulfur could be a problem when you have, some deviations going on. Um, and I find that, most people don't like to change their diet any more than they already have. But like if you're eating eggs every day and sauerkraut every day, all these things that we're being told are healthy, and you can't convert it all, I mean, that's not nothing, right? Like that's going to have a backlog of effects. So
mm-hmm,
I find that to be a helpful kind of nuance to pay attention to, as the body's, you know, I don't know, we're always adapting and trying to dig into the layers to support and make progress. Sometimes we have to find these things that we can't do right along the way and make adjustments, right? Does that make sense?
mm-hmm.
Does that
Yeah,
help? Was that a good?
absolutely. Yeah, because I find that with traditional mineral balancing, it's like here's your one liver supplement and this is it. And most people either don't like it, can't take it, it makes them feel pretty horrible. So I see sulfur and histamine to like going together really often. Like I would say at least 50% of people that think they just have the histamine issues are probably also dealing with the sulfur bottlenecks and low molybdenum and maybe overdoing the sulfur foods or have some of those genetic SNPs that is actually making the body having a harder time, not just having a harder time tolerating sulfur, but it's actually like making more sulfur and ammonia. And you're taking all these supplements that you see from like the gurus and people that say support your liver, but then you have the
Yeah.
chronic histamine issues, which are overlapping a lot with that sulfur too, sulfur
Yeah.
symptoms.
Yeah. Like, can we stop telling everyone to take NAC for crying out
Yeah,
loud?
I know.
Like it really, like anything anyone's recommending broadly, like for everyone, question it. Just
Oh
just
yeah.
question it.
Hmm.
Just question the heck out
Absolutely.
of it.
And how does this test compare to like the GI map?
Well, GI map is PCR.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to pick things up differently. It's going to, what I've noticed, and this is, I don't know how to explain this as well as like somebody else would, but it's going to pick up the pathogenic stuff like white on rice. And then so then your interpretation and utilization of that information could be more geared towards dealing with something that's showing up really high readily, right? Like kind of like what we
Hmm.
did with COVID scenario, right? With the
Yeah.
PCR. Oh, it's there. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
okay. It's there, but like what else is going on, right? Um, so that's the difference. Both tests have their validity, right? I'm not saying we don't ever use GI map. I think it has its place. I just think if we don't understand that we aren't just here to kill off the bad guys, um, which it feels like a lot of people are coming in with that as the approach that has been taken. I'm not
Oh,
saying
yeah.
everyone practices
Oh,
that way.
most everyone. Most
Uh,
everyone does, yes. If you're
but
not practicing that way, you're way ahead of most practitioners. Yeah.
yeah, and people have no idea like what I'm talking about most of the time, and it takes a while. I'm like,
Right.
all
They're
right.
like, why am I just taking these boring supplements? I'm like, because if I give you a parasite cleanse, it's going to kill you. Like, you can't just keep trying to bust biofilms constantly. Like, stop with the oregano oil and the biocidin. It's too
Yeah,
much.
you can really set yourself further off trajectory by doing some of this stuff because you're not
Hmm.
looking at the cohesive whole. And we're not
Yeah.
very patient. We're not really all that patient.
Right.
We've lost that. And that's the modern world. We're just not
Hmm.
patient.
And like you said, the holistic world is very similar to I have this problem, this overgrowth, this pathogen, I'll do this to resolve it instead of looking at the whole. So it's hard to shift that mindset. Even in my master's of functional medicine program, it was still kind of like that, you know? Like, yeah, we learned about the cell and the mitochondria and how to support that. But there was a lot of like explain how curcumin can be helpful for inflammation. It was still like kind of in that same model. It
Right.
wasn't it wasn't as deep as we well, and also it was like 8 years ago too. So we're coming a long way. I think that like people like you and people that just are like, no, you guys, there's a better way. People are sick of like the charlatans and the influencers selling the supplements, and they really want what they want to work with somebody who like has had the results and is not doing it the same way everyone else is.
Yeah. I mean, I love what you just said about even curcumin, for example. Like, we're taking a plant out completely out of its context and completely out of relationship to the natural environment that it came from. And there's so much depth and beautifulness, that we would have like we would have had such an intuitive, like natural relationship to the land and the plants do so much more than just, deal with inflammation. Like, come on, right? Like, that's such a reductionistic view of a plant that has a spirit to it as well, which I don't care if people think that's woo, it's true.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like, it's just like we're treating nutrients as medicine now,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like, oof, that's dangerous territory, in my opinion. It's
Yeah.
really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that you brought that up because it is true, you know, that we herbalism is no longer like you go to somebody who's studied it. You can buy it off Amazon. You can get adaptogenic will heal your adrenals from any old pharmacy formulary online, and people take herbs like it's harmless. Like, oh, well, I was just taking this one I bought off here and this one from this person, and my last practitioner said this and I liked it, so I've been on it. And you're taking like 25, 50 different herbs and you have no idea what's causing what.
Yeah, I think that the plants won't let you disrespect them. I think we're entering territory where people are it's going to start to backfire.
Oh, I think it already has.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So is there any other testing or any other like big part of your practice that you see is like very important for people to adopt besides like the nature and some of the things we've already kind of mentioned?
Things to adopt. Ooh. Gosh. Other testing. Well, I like to keep all the testing that I do work with foundational
Mm-hmm.
and something that can be more personalized to you. So I do work with the genetic data simply because, I mean, come on, like, here we are. Um, and I think when I first learned about it back in 20 whatever, 15 or whatever, I got mine done, it was very mechanistic. It was very like, you have this SNP, these are the nutrients you need, like da 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 da. And I was like, how the heck am I supposed to do all that? Like, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Um, so I feel like that needs to be brought into a holistic view, not the holistic health space, like holistic. Like, where are you at now, and how is your methylation working? I just did a podcast about this, short and sweet. Like, that was my last episode. Um, and then so that's like awesome because it can bring a lot of nuance. And
Yeah.
then honestly, I love astrology.
Oh yeah.
I find it to be like it's like your cosmic name. It's like, here's where the stars were when you were born. And it's like the oldest science there is. And it's just really vast as to what we can glean from it and support a person with. But like also, you can see, yourself in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Um, so there's a lot of really neat nuance to astrology, and more people are open to it, especially since it seems like everything changed since COVID, right? People are just trying to find meaning, understanding, know who they are, right? And astrology can really support that, right? Like you don't have to know astrology because you might already be on your path and living your chart, right? But like when you look at it, um, gosh, I mean, it's like a cosmic weather report in a way where it can just really clue you into things, and then you can kind of like direct yourself in a whole new way. And there's also medical astrology, right? So there's ways that we can work with that piece of information about ourselves and get even more nuanced about, like, okay, maybe I need these minerals or herbs more so than that person, or my constitution might run hot and not cold, and all these kinds of cool things. So I really like it because it kind of gives me an in on someone, and they feel seen, and then we can start to like even work with the cell salts a little bit more targeted too. So it's really cool.
Mhm.
But not everyone's into it. I mean, I grew up religious and it was like a no-no.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that that's a disservice because it's a really beautiful deep body of work that can open up so much. So
Right. Yeah.
those are probably the four core things I prefer to work with, but there's
Yeah.
plenty of options, right?
Right. Humans are so complex and they all like need a slightly different flavor. But yeah, I've had a couple other people on that use astrology or are astrologists, and when I found out about the correlation with the cell salts and like the months of like when you were born, I thought that was like such a cool fact to take this to the cell salts when you were not in the womb. Is that kind of how you're using them as well?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the ones you kind of missed out on
Yeah, the ones you
and need
missed.
more of,
Yeah.
and kind of like burn up. And you know it's neat because you can see it in people's hair test.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, "Oh, well that tracks. That's why your potassium like doesn't even register." Like, you know how the potassium can, I don't know, do you do TEI or ARL?
I do ARL, but I look at a
Oh,
lot of TEIs from people. Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, yeah. So that's a cool piece, but that's just like the baby step in.
Yeah. And if you think about minerals, like it's of the earth and maybe from other planets anyways, like the minerals are parts of the universe. So they carry that
Yeah.
information with them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think about this. You even think about the whole Big Bang. Well, how did that happen?
Yeah.
I mean, minerals were involved, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, minerals are definitely cosmic.
Absolutely. And I went to, it was a museum in Washington, D.C., and they had a humongous section of the museum on rocks.
Yep.
And have you been to that one? You know what I'm
Oh, yeah.
talking about? Mixtures of different minerals and metals. Oh my gosh, I could have spent all day in there. I took so many pictures. If you've never seen like the chemistry and the biochemistry or the bioenergetics and just the different crystals and rock formations that pairing different things together makes, it is so cool, so fascinating. Like things you would be like, how is this even physically possible? And they just look so cool.
They do. Yeah, it goes to show there's like some pretty cool alchemical stuff that can and here we are like so
Yeah,
deductionistic about how we approach minerals, like it's just like, oh man, let's get to
right.
the good stuff.
Well, maybe as this body of work progresses, we'll have more and more people that are expanding it, and the books that are coming out will start to change, and we'll start to see less of that rigidity. Because I agree, I receive so many people coming from like a traditional practitioner, and they're just like, I want to do it, but I can't do it that way. I can't do a coffee enema every day. I can't take that many supplements. And they're just stuck. So I appreciate people like you that put together all the things that make it make sense for us to understand, like how are we responsible for our own change, but also what are the simple things we can do that is not like a punishment. Like, because healing for a lot of people feels like I got to do this and I can't get back to my life until this happens. But it's can be so opposite of that. Like, it's instead of taking you out of your life longer, this path is getting you back into your life, but just in a different way.
Yeah, it's regenerative. It
Mm-hmm.
builds resiliency, which is why everyone's struggling right now because they don't have that built-in resiliency anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Um, yeah, so many cool angles we could go with this conversation and just this work in general. It's like it makes me sad when people feel like they can't enter it, right? Like because they're
Mhm.
overwhelmed by how it's being presented, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, tell everyone where to find you. How can they listen to your podcast and see your body of work and like your website and all that?
Yeah, my website's lydiajoy.me. My podcast is Rewilded Wellness. It's on all platforms. I also have it on my podcast as well. I'm not really posting on my Instagram, Lydia Joy Me, that much because let's be honest, I'm getting more action on my other account, which is, excuse me, holistic mineral balancing, which I started in 2015 before this whole thing got like before mineral balancing was even being called mineral balancing, like
Right.
a trend, if you will. And I guess because in the last couple of years it got more known, I just kind of like hang out over there.
Yeah.
And that's mainly where I post on Instagram. I post a lot in
Hmm.
my stories, mostly
Yeah.
because I don't know. I, I find authentic engagement to be my favorite.
Right.
So I show up and share in there mostly.
Yeah. That's the one that has just really great content, like lots of really free, detailed education. So for those listening interested in learning more about minerals and the way the body works in general, your podcast and that Instagram's got a lot of great information.
Yeah, my podcast is I mean I covered a lot of stuff over the decade or not, I haven't been doing it for a decade, but like I've covered a lot of angles and you'll if you would go back to the beginning, you'll see the evolution. Um but yeah,
Yeah, I'm thinking
I'm
about like, should I delete some of my old ones? Because I don't practice that way anymore. I don't want people to get confused.
I know I was really careful, but like I'm like, well, maybe I could reframe some things because now you're hearing people come in with so much like a dogma
Hmm.
perspective of like, it's very myopic, right? Like,
Hmm.
oh, copper, oh, rah. And it's like, let's zoom back out, right? So that's what I try to do. I try to keep that big picture view and then go in and do the details about things, but always with the big picture view in mind.
Right. Such a task. Well, I think you're great at it, and I really appreciate you coming on and having this convo with me. I think a lot of people will find a lot of benefit. And yeah, hopefully we can do it again. Maybe we'll have a more specific topic or something if that works for you.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Definitely. Well, I appreciate you having me. It was great to chat. Fellow Virgos here. Seems like
Yes.
a lot of us in the healing space, right?
Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So good stuff.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you, Lydia. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. I am just so thrilled that you're listening to the Healer Revolution podcast. This has been a huge passion project for me and super therapeutic on top of that, helping me to use my voice and connect with other like-minded individuals. So if you're enjoying the podcast, please like and subscribe. Please share on social media or with your audience or friends or loved ones. I truly appreciate it. It does take a lot of time and financial costs to run the podcast, and it is not a moneymaker, let me tell you. So if you are enjoying this, I would truly appreciate your support just by sending me a post, a like, and a subscribe. Thank you so much.